Hi, this is Michael from Good to Hear, and today I am going to talk about tracking my happiness versus the pandemic. Finally getting onto this subject after a couple of starter videos. So I want to talk about the difference between how we remember things and how they actually happened in reality, and how mood tracking can help us untangle that. So I have to start with my experience of this pandemic, which has been slightly guilty in a way, because on a day-to-day level it hasn't really affected me that much, because I spend most of my time in a studio working on my own, or working remotely for other people. So I haven't noticed a huge shift day to day, but what I have noticed is suddenly a load of people are interested in live streaming music, and that meant that loads of people were coming to my video on YouTube about doing that, and then suddenly loads of people started buying my app that just helps you do that. So my experience has been that suddenly I'm making money for the first time, doing my own thing. So I feel a little bit guilty about that, but this is what I've been shooting for. Also, with all the lockdown, with everyone else being stuck inside, it means I feel like I'm seeing people more, because I'm FaceTiming and all that kind of thing. So if you were to ask me how I've experienced the pandemic, I'd probably say it's been quite good. That's how I remember it anyway. It's weird, but also, I also know that my human brain is very squishy and unreliable, as most are. But I've been tracking my emotional state throughout this. So the point of this video is to compare how I remember the events so far throughout this pandemic versus what my actual data looks like, what my actual diary entries, if I chart my mood day to day, how that looks. So let's do some analysis. So I'll start off by, I should have probably done this before, exporting my data from the Changes app. So once we've exported our data from the app, we'll make a new spreadsheet with sheets.new. I will import this CSV data by just dragging that in here. I will import the data, replace the current spreadsheet, and then we're going to name this happiness versus the pandemic. We're going to have a look at my mood trend overall by creating a chart, which will be a scatter chart. You can see I've got quite a lot of old data, but what I want to do is just go however long it's been before and after, since I've got the pandemic marked on here. So I think I put this as the 16th of March. So I'm going to go days since 16th March, 65 days, and then just go 65 days before 16th March. And that's going to give us the 10th of January. So everything before the 10th of January, we will get rid of. So... and then we should have roughly equivalent volumes of data for before and after. So delete these rows. That's assuming I have been very consistent with my mood tracking. So I'm just going to kill the stuff that I don't want down here as well. Let's prune out the stuff I'm not interested in. Pull this down and have a look. And if we want to see the changes on here, we just got to do a little bit of gymnastics, where we're going to just changes. We're going to go down to where we've got a value for that. We're going to say what we want that number to be. We're going to take our chart. We're going to edit the chart. We're going to add some more range. Then that's going to let us put changes here. And then we're going to go vertical axis, go all the way up to 1. And then we're going to add a label to that point there, by going add labels and take the changes label. So now you can see this is where I have the coronavirus marked on my data. So the only other thing I want to do now is just add a marker to the before and after data. So I'm just going to take this whole table, filterize it, sort this A to Z, find the coronavirus row, and then insert another column here go period. Let's call this before. Let's take this down to here. Let's fill that down. Everything else is after. Right? So now we've got that little useful coronavirus column, we can move forward. So this is our overall mood trend. So, I mean, we can have a look at this already, move to its own sheet. I'm just going to add on a little series for the mood trend. Let's just give it a trend line. Let's give it a just moving average trend line. And maybe not have quite such large points. Maybe make that, because we're doing a video here, maybe make that a little bit thicker by going trend line thickness. Let's go 8 and let's make it like nice and obvious. Yeah, so I was doing all right, but we can see that this coronavirus stage, certainly something shifted there, didn't it? So this is my happiness, and this is like it got knocked. So it'll be interesting to see what knocked. I mean, obviously a pandemic is going to knock your mood. So I don't really remember that, like in my brain, but I can see it there. So like I'm like, well, what happened there? So I'm just going to rename these happiness, and we'll move on to the next section where we will compare hashtags before and after the lockdown. So I've got these columns here. Each one is a hashtag that I've added to an entry. Each one of these rows is an entry. And each one of these scores, these are scores. So where I've used it, it's got a score. So anxious made me unhappy. Doing my own thing made me happy. Upgrading something made me unhappy. You know how it goes. So what I want to do is like create a new sheet. And this is going to be hashtags. And what we're going to have is each of our hashtags in a column here. And we're going to go unhappy before, neutral before, happy before, unhappy after, neutral after, happy after. So that's our column headings. Let's make those nice and bold. There's also going to be a total column in there. So we need to stick all the hashtags in. So what we'll do here is grab all of this. It's kind of weird I've got these Japanese ones in, but copy that in. I don't even know what those words are. But I was just testing something in the app. Paste, transposed. That's our list of hashtags. Now we're going to count up how many before and after. So I'll just do a quick explanation of this decount function. So what we're going to need here is decount. We're going to say what all of our data is. So again, it's just like everything in this spreadsheet. A to whatever, dt. Right. Then the field in this case, well, just as an example, I'll show you like if we were to just go. So the field we're going to want is that column title, and then the lookup is going to be, let's just, I'll show you what that would look like. So we've pointed it at, where do we point it? These ones. So we're going to say the rating of that tag is going to be -1, and the period is going to be before. And that should magically give us, oh, it's anxious. We're going to go anxious. Right, and there we can see, well, we got 0. But this is kind of what that table is going to look like. But we want to make this all dynamic. And to do this, we have to go, we're going to use whatever the hashtag is, and then we're going to construct that table in line with the column name, the period, -1 because we're looking for negative ratings, and the period is going to be before. And that should give us something different to what we had before, but hey, who knows what's going on there. Let me just delete all the empty rows so that I can be quicker with my fill down. So we'll fill that down. So this is period before blah, blah, blah. So in fact, if we just, let's just make sure it doesn't change any column numbers by putting some things in there. And then we should just be able to pull that out. Then just change this to neutral. Change this one to happy. Change this to after. Actually pull that out. Make this 0 and make this 1. So if you're not sure what I just did, there's a blog post where I kind of go into a bit more detail on that. And then let's just add all these together so we can filter out anything with nothing in it. Yeah, because we've got a few where it just hasn't been used. So if we just now create a filter on this table, data, create a filter, and just total has to be like not naught. Okay, so now we're ready to make a chart. Well, 2 charts, in fact. So what I'm going to do is grab the hashtag and the before data. I'm going to go insert chart. Now I'm going to go, we're going to use one of these nice, where is it? This thing. Just because it's cute and it'll make a good thumbnail. This, if we put this on its own sheet, so edit this chart. Let's use row 1 as headers, use column as, yeah, there we go. So now we can see those. If we just thicken this all up a little bit, say 4, 2, 4, 3, 4. Should we just like maybe just get rid of everything that's 1 as well? Right. So this gives us before. So doing my own thing, let's also set these colors to something that makes sense. Did I like, yes, use these as headers. Yeah, unhappy before, neutral before, happy before. So if we take the unhappies, let's make them red. Let's make these like sort of light, the neutrals, and let's make the happies nice and green. And have a look. So doing my own thing. Shaz. The podcast was good. And then unhappy, yeah, studio mate, money, anxious about something. Yeah, a lot of anxiety stuff. So if we just duplicate this sheet, we can compare by just editing this. Yeah, let's just make sure this stays on that scale by making it go up to 6, and let's go add another range. Okay, and change this to unhappy after, neutral after, and happy after. So now we should just be able to switch between those. I have not found a way to make these animate or anything in Google Sheets yet. And if you do want something more advanced, I could do that. But I'm sort of trying to keep this in Google Sheets so that it, to me, it feels more accessible. Maybe none of this is accessible. Maybe I'm out of my mind. But here we go. So what happened before? Money was red, but now we see money seems to have come up. Coronavirus is responsible for some negative entries, but also some positives. Doing my own thing. Bit of sort of neutral anxiety ratings, and we can have a look at what they are. And there's a bit of stress and some sunshine. So there was a bit of stress before and after. So that's how my mood has changed. That's how my focus has changed before and after. So just to sort of see what's going on with those neutral anxious ratings. Let's just find everything where that is 0 and see what I was saying. Sorry. So format, text wrapping, wrap. So I think it's supposed to be happy, but I'm more like, am I allowed to? It's like there was some stuff going on, and it wasn't like killing me, but it was like kind of strange. I was feeling like myself, but I was also in a strange old state of confusion. But just going back, I would say, I don't really remember this. So what I'm going to do is just have a look at the entries with positive ratings that were before. And format, text wrapping, wrap. Like I was getting the app done and I released the app and we can see there was a bit of toilet paper stuff happening already. This is the 11th of March. But yeah, I'm seeing my sales. I was already sort of starting to see those things. If we look at after, what was making me happy? After. Right. I have to keep doing this. Format, text wrapping, wrap. I am happy. I am free. Speaking to people. I'm enjoying my life. Lots of things to be happy about. But if we just have a look at what was unhappy before, what was I preoccupied with? It's just a loud thing. But then after, what was cutting into my mood? I think this is going to be interesting. So I think the gym closing was a bummer, but I know I wasn't getting enough sleep. Like I kept waking up really early. Let me write up my findings and then I'll just say them in a more concise way to the camera because it's no fun watching someone think. So I'll be back with a snap. So what did I remember correctly? Well, overall my mood has been on upward-ish trajectory, but it was much bumpier than I remembered. And I was definitely reporting a lot of these elated moods as a result of my newfound freedom when I sort of went through when I went through this stuff. And I remembered that there were all these new social interactions and all that stuff, which was nice. But I really had forgotten all the uncertainty, all this whole period of uncertainty at the start, because it was a bumpy time. I didn't know if I was going to have to keep paying for services I couldn't use anymore. I didn't like the feeling that I would get into trouble by continuing to come to my studio, even though there was nobody really here. I forgot that I was having all those things in my head. I'd forgotten about like how the building mate was being a bit of a busybody about like hand washing and stuff. I was like, I'm a grown up. There was all that stuff going on, and I forgot about all the times I've been like waking up and in the early hours of the morning because of these app sales and looking at my figures, and if it went up I got excited, if it went down I was like, oh no, it's all over. And there was all that kind of like bumpy ride this whole time, but in my mind it's just sort of been a bit like greenwashed to be this sort of like exciting sunny time. Like the sun has been out as well. So I mean, what does this mean in general? I think it's just interesting how much we worry about change when we're so good at adapting to new situations, and how we forget all the growing pains and only really remember the new equilibrium, all the stuff we want to remember. We forget all those anxieties we had in the moment, all those uncertainties, because once you know the outcome, there's no reason to remember that you weren't sure before, but actually not knowing is one of the most unpleasant things. So, I'm sure you might have different, I'm sure every single person has a different experience through this, and most people weren't tracking their mood, but I wish more people were. So if you found this interesting, I did write a book called Tracking Happiness and Why It Works. And that is over on my website. There's a link attached to this, wherever it is. And you can get that for free by signing up to my newsletter. And I'm just going to take you through some practices and thoughts and ideas and some software that I've created as well. So hopefully I'll see you over there. Bye!